Good evening, everybody. We welcome you to Let's Talk About It, our Thursday night platform. And we're grateful for all of you who have tuned in so far. And we are thankful tonight for our guest, Brother Jeremy. He's here with us for part two tonight. And our subject that we're talking about tonight, once again, is how to survive the unexpected. So we're going to open up for a word of prayer, and then we're going to get right into it because he's got some more slides, and I also have something I want everybody to take a look at too as well. So let's pray. Father, we thank you and bless you in Jesus' name for this day you've blessed us with, and we thank you for this privilege and this platform and all those who are tuned in. Bless us tonight and be our unseen guests, and we'll be ever so careful to give you glory, honor, and praise. In the name of Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen. All right, Jeremy, if you would take just a few minutes again to introduce yourself for those who may not had the privilege to tune in last week, and then we'll get back and try to pick up where we left off. I just have a few things I want to share after your introduction, then we'll get right into it.
Okay, sure thing. Thanks again for having me. My name is Jeremy Straughter, military officer in the Army major, been in the Army for almost 20 years now. More than half of that time has been in serving in combat units like the infantry and the special forces. Like last time, for those of you who aren't familiar with, infantry, special forces soldiers, spend a lot of time on your feet. They're the soldiers who actually fight our nation's wars. So you hear the term foot soldiers, moving from place to place, living outside of your rucksack, carrying everything with you wherever you're going. So in that time, had an opportunity to get a lot of survival training, and I'm happy to be able to pass as much of that on as possible in the next amount of time that we have together.
Well, we appreciate what you have done for our country and what you're still doing. So thank you so much again for being our guest. And I just want to share a couple of things with you, some things that have happened, not just in my community, but in several communities abroad as I have talked to certain people, and they have told me the same thing is happening in their community. And so, we're living in some uncertain times, and there's a lot of things that's going on in our country right now. A lot of protesting. Protesting is good, and we're trying to change some laws. Also, there's been some chatter about some things coming down the pike as we get closer to our election. But some of the things that I want to share with you tonight that's have caused some break-ins in different communities. And we, me and my wife, we're on this platform for our community, and they keep us abreast about things that's happening in our community. And it seems like 3 times a week, people have had their cars broken into. People are getting the garage door opener out the cars, trying to get into the garages, stealing stuff out of the cars. So they're alerting a lot of people to make sure you lock your doors. And if you haven't gotten up any security cameras, you want to do that. And I don't know if you've heard or not, but we are at 53 million people that's unemployed. And when you get to a number like that, and people can't pay their bills, people can't put food on the table, you can expect some things to happen. People are going to start breaking in. They're going to start stealing. And so I've had the privilege to go to some stores, gun stores, for ammunition and some other items. And you would be amazed of the stuff that they don't have because they're running out of it as fast as they can get it. So this platform tonight, knowing how to survive in the unexpected, it's only to prepare you, not to scare you, but to prepare you for what could come and what could happen. And it is my job as your bishop to make sure that I empower you and give you the right information so you can prepare yourself. You have the option to say yay or nay to whatever we have on each Thursday night. But I want to take this time to at least let you know what's going on. Last week, I shared with you that I had purchased, me and Brother Ray had purchased this survival backpack that Jeremy was talking to us about last week. He was showing us some slides. And before we get off tonight, Ray is going to show you the backpack we received on Tuesday, the one that we purchased, and it's already packed with all the survival stuff that you will need. They have different sizes, so you'll get a chance to see the one that we purchased. But now I'm going to turn it back over to Jeremy, and I'm going to let you go at it. And if anybody that's watching tonight, whether by Zoom or Facebook, if you have any questions as we go along that you want to ask Jeremy, you can type it in the chat box and we'll make sure he get it. All right, the floor is yours.
All right, so I'm gonna share my screen with you again here.
Okay.
Let's see. Okay. Can you see what I have up here?
Yep, can see it.
All right, great. So, a lot of great questions last week. When I went back and I listened over the discussion that we had, I realized that, some of the questions that were asked, I probably didn't go into in as much detail as folks would have liked. I like these slides because it gives, it's one thing to talk about it, but then it's another thing to show it.
Right.
So that people can get a vision of what it is that we're talking about. So I wanted to circle back on some of those things that I made note of with just, so, one of the questions someone asked last week was, where can I go for survival training? So I'm not sure how, folks who aren't familiar with REI is, recreational equipment. It's a company that sells a lot of your hiking and outdoor recreational equipment. But in addition to that, they have a service where they provide survival training in hiking. And these are just two classes that I pulled up. One is just a camping workshop. And, it begins to tell you everything that you need to be able to live outdoors, how to use the, you said you bought a backpack. So, how do you use the things in the backpack? What are the best, what we call tactics, techniques, and procedures for using these things? What are the best practices? And then also just this wilderness first aid course. Now, I think these courses run, $150 to $200 for $200 for non-members of REI. You'll have to check, but anybody who's interested, this is their website, and they have a suite of classes that they can teach you about survival training. And I recommend you follow up and do that if you're interested. The other question that I received, that we were asked, was about where can we go for firearms training. I think specifically someone was asking about, maybe figuring out how to hunt. Certainly there are hunter safety courses, and you mentioned that you would be able to teach them everything that they need to know. But I also wanted to bring everyone's attention to the services that you can get at your local weapons range or firearms range. So there's one near me, and I pulled the website, and I'm assuming that there will be one, in near Bristow or wherever your parishioners are watching in from. But so here are some of the services that you'll find. You'll be able to rent the different firearms. You pay a small fee, you pay for your ammunition, and you go back into the range. It looks just like the picture here. They'll give you the equipment that you need, and then you can practice firing the different weapons that are available before you go and make a purchase. Too many times I hear people who will go out and they'll buy firearms, and they really don't know what it is that they're getting. They're taking advice from someone who they believe is a trusted source, and it becomes a waste of money because they find that it doesn't meet their needs, or they're not going to fire it anyway. So I recommend that everybody who's interested in this, who's serious about your own personal protection, go visit your local range or your local gun store. They normally have a range in the back. There you can go through a concealed carry permit course. They can teach you about the firearms laws that specific to your area. There workshops on how to clean and maintain your firearm, and then just the general use, from beginning, intermediate, and advanced. For you only if you buy a handgun, a pistol, if you decide to buy something larger like a rifle or a shotgun, they'll have the training there for you to get so that you can operate your weapon safely. We also talked about the different protection options that are available, and I was kind of hesitant because I wanted to make sure that the information that I was giving you was legal, because every state has different laws and regulations associated with the different weapons, whether you can carry something with or without a permit, the laws centered around how you use these different weapons. So, starting, we talked about tasers. I'm personally not a fan of tasers. I feel like if you're going to have a taser, you need to, again, make sure that you know how to use it, know how to how to carry it, know how to deploy it. But if you look here in Virginia, there are no restrictions on the use of tasers. So for anyone who's thinking about purchasing one, just to assure you on that. Same thing for pepper spray. One of the questions we were talking about was, mace versus pepper spray. Essentially, same purpose, different chemical makeup. Studies show that pepper spray is more effective. They did a study on mace versus pepper spray, and pepper spray, I hate saying 100%, but pepper spray was times more effective at stopping the assailant than mace. So I think pepper spray is the most common that's bought, and if you look here in Virginia, there are no restrictions on the use of pepper spray. I think there may be some restrictions in DC, but no restrictions in Virginia and Maryland.
Any questions so far? If you have any, please put them in the chat box.
Okay. I just wanted to give some basic information about shotguns. Shotguns. We were talking about shotguns last week. Not sure how familiar everyone is, but there are basically three types of shotguns. You have your break action, which I didn't talk very much about last week. I would venture to say they're not commonly used. You have your semi-automatic and your pump action. Last week in our discussion, each type of shotgun has its own advantages and disadvantages. We're talking about pump action because using the noise as a deterrent, and certainly I think pump actions are the most effective, but they require a lot of training and a lot of practice to get really good at using the pump action shotgun. I personally favor the semi-automatic because they're easy to use. If you're gonna be in a situation where you have to use the shotgun for home defense, for example, then it's as simple as picking it up and firing. Obviously making sure that you're trained to use it, but the drawback to semi-automatic shotguns is that they require cleaning and maintenance. You hear a lot of stories about semi-automatic these shotguns jamming, which is a concern. And then again, with break action, very easy to use but slower. I mean, I think for in most cases there's a one or two shell capacity on a break action. So after you fire those two shells, then you have to open it up and take the cartridge out and put in the new cartridges and reload. So obviously that's time consuming. We talked about the types of shotgun shells, bird shot, buckshot, and a slug. If you're looking at this for home defense, I would personally recommend the bird shot because it, would limit damage in your home. I think, a lot of ranges will market these as a home defense type round. it's also been proven that birdshot can be lethal at close ranges. So off to the right here, I have the different shotgun gauges, or the size of the shotgun shell. Most common being a 12 gauge. Now, if for any reason will have an issue with the recoil, whether it be age, or whether it be a lack of strength, then folks commonly drop down to 20 gauge. I believe that's the next commonly, most commonly purchased shotgun. But I think from here, you can take this information, go to your nearest rifle range or weapon store, and they'll be able to show you what they have in their inventory, and even give you training and let you use some of those that they have in stock.
Before you go to the next slide, I
Okay.
just want to let everybody know, if you take a look at our chat box, there is a link in there for you if you want to get your concealed weapons permit. And also there is an address for Elite Gun Range in Manassas. It's a fairly new gun range. I've been there plenty of times. Matter of fact, I was there this week, and it's a nice range. Comes with a membership, and it's probably about 20 bucks. But it's a great place to learn how to shoot. They have people that will train you as well. So if you need that information, you can get it out of the chat box.
Yeah, so that's where I go. That's where I pulled this information from. One of the better, high quality. They will, of course, everything that you need to learn, how to use these weapons, they'll be able to teach you and show you there. And like I said, relatively low cost. Let's see. So there are also some questions were asked about handguns, right? So I wanted to provide a little bit more information on that. I think we're talking about the different sizes of handguns, and I'm just going to keep this basic because you can get very much into the weeds on the different makes of handguns, and the different purposes of the handguns. And I think the key thing to know is that they come in different sizes, and just like we just said with the shotguns, they have their own. Each has an advantage and disadvantage. I put these here are Glocks. Yeah, I put these here because you can see that there are three different versions. There's a subcompact, a compact, and a standard. And I think, one of the conversations you and I were having before, Bishop, was, we were talking about how folks buy the wrong handgun for their needs. And, I can be, very passionate about this because I've had friends who would go out and again, they get bad advice, and, someone will tell them hey, I got this gun, you should get this gun. But I think, one of the key things that you want to look at is, for one, so two key things to consider, what are you using it for? Like, how are you going to use it? And then just consider the overall, well, I like to say the ergonomics. So, the make, you think about like your hand size. Some people have larger hands, some people have smaller hands. That's really why they make these different sizes. So your subcompact, so you can see here, this Glock 26 is, best for, if you're going to do a concealed carry, it's best for concealment. You can buy, a holster or inside the belt holster, and you can carry this around, or it's easy to carry around in your purse. I tend to recommend this or something like this for concealed carry purposes. Compacts are also good for concealment. The advantage of a compact over a subcompact is that you'll be able to carry a few more rounds in the magazine. I don't have the exact specs at the top of my head. I think somewhere between 15 and 17 rounds, maybe. And then a standard I have here is not suitable for many users because you can see these are larger weapons. I mean, these are the type of weapons that you'll see carried by law enforcement. Folks who are probably not concealing these. They're going to be open carrying these, and they're probably going to be carrying it in a larger caliber. See up top, I just gave some of the most common, picture some of the most common rounds that you can find. Last week you and I were talking, I personally recommend, I personally recommend 9 millimeter. I think you said you also own a 9 millimeter. Um, I probably wouldn't drop below the 380, and I probably wouldn't go above the 40. But I think 9 millimeter is good for most folks' needs. And this Glock 19 is 9 millimeter. Glock 26 you get 9 millimeter. Um, so also two types handguns can be semi-automatic or they can be revolvers. I don't have a picture here of a revolver. When you think revolver, you hear the term six shooter, you think about your westerns, um, where you have to load the cartridges individually. Again, I'm not I know folks own these, and there's one thing to be a collector or have it in your house, but um, again, not a fan of using those for concealed carry purposes because um, I think I just try to use what's most simple. And I think these, I think the magazine um, fed weapons are the most simple to use. And like I said, if you're going to be in an emergency, if you're really going to need it. But again, you can rent and receive training on several different types of weapons at your local firearms range, like you recommended at Elite. You'll be able to see this and many, many more types of weapons there. So I'll stop there. If you have any questions, we can just keep going.
Don't have any right yet, so you can keep rolling.
Okay. So we already went through. I'm gonna, just breeze through these first few. I got a packing list that I put together and sent you. It looks like you'd be curious to kind of see, what your kit has. That there anything additional to this list that I pulled together. But again, you have your backpack. We talked about that last week. A filtration mask, a a safety tent, a shelter tent, and thermal blankets or some type of lightweight blanket to keep you warm. We spoke last week about the uh, the platypus here. We talked about filtration straws and the the tablets, the iodine tablets, and we talked about uh, fishing or some means to get food. We talked about having your medications, having money. We talked about having some prepackaged foods and also your medical documents. Yeah, sorry, your important documents, making sure that those are waterproofed and um, put somewhere at the bottom of your bag where it won't fall out.
Can you name some of those documents for those who weren't on last week? And these documents are if for some reason you have to leave your house and go to another location and you might have to be there for a long period of time. There's some documents that Jeremy mentioned, and I'll let him mention them again, that is important to have with you when you leave your home.
Yeah, so the key thing that I think about are things that are tied to ownership. If you think about worst case scenario, if the worst happens and you end up getting displaced for a while, worst case situation, something happens with the government and, you want to be able to come back and show that, hey, I own this. So I'm thinking things like your deeds. I'm thinking things like your personally identifying information, show like who you are, of course, your social security cards, birth certificates, your passports, in case you need to travel. Um, those are the type of documents that I would say, those most important documents, just something that you can fold up, put it in a Ziploc bag and put it at the bottom of your bag.
Now, before we go to your next slide, I want to take a few minutes since we're on this dealing with the backpack. Ray, if you're on and you can hear me, let's take a few minutes to show everyone the bag that we purchased that came in this week and what's inside of it.
So I may need to stop sharing here.
Okay.
All right.
You there, Ray? Okay. Can't hear you.
He may need.
Okay. All right.
Okay, good to go. Hey, everybody. All right.
Hey, Ray, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing, sir?
Good, good.
Good to see you, Jeremy. Sorry, trying to clean my dirty camera out there. All these lights create a glare. This is my Vanna White. She's gonna help me illustrate. Nah, I'm kidding. So, Bishop and I came across a website. It's called Stealth Angel. So they sell emergency preparedness kits. They come in a multitude of capacities, from one person to up to 5 people, survival kits. So we took a jab at them up. So now we were able to show you guys what we have tonight. Thanks, babe. And we can talk you through some of the things that are inside the bag. So off top, this is the size of the bag. I'll do the best to put it on and back up so people can get an idea of the dimensions of the bag as it is. Pretty comfortable shoulder straps. It's a kind of what I call like a micro bag. From my Marine Corps experience, it's significantly smaller than what an Alice pack would be. Protrudes kind of far out in the back, but still comfortable, lightweight. I'd probably say total is probably about maybe 4 pounds, if that. So it's a fairly lightweight bag. This is the 2-person survival kit. So what I'll do is I'll go through a few things that are in the bag. I think it'd be easier to run through the list than what's in here than to steal time by unpacking it. If that's okay with you, Bishop, and I'll just run through the list of some of the things that are in the bag to give everybody an idea of the contents in here for the size of the bag. So of course, there's food and water. Comes with 12 4-ounce water pouches. Comes with the 400-calorie food bars. There's 12 of those too. 20 water purification tablets. Each tablet purifies up to 1 liter of water. So you got, to me, that's more than enough for 3 days. But nonetheless, we'll move right on. There's light and communication access in here. So you got a flashlight, you got a keychain flashlight. There's a 4-in-1 radio flashlight charger, a 12-hour emergency bright sticks. Those are kind of chem lights that you just snap and throw somewhere in case you can't see what's in front of you. You don't want to turn your flashlight on or whatever. There's also a survival whistle. Those can be used for a multitude of scenarios. You're talking, earthquakes, floods, things of that nature. Also in here, there's tools for shelter and warmth. There are 2 emergency body warmers, 2 emergency blankets, 2 emergency ponchos with hoods, and there's an emergency tube tent with ropes. That's to sleep in, of course. The rope is just to tie it down so it doesn't fly away in the event that there's wind or what have you. And then there's a couple tools that come with it as well too. It's what the company Stealth Angel Survival calls an 8-in-1 everyday kit, and it consists of, again, another flashlight. There's a Stealth Angel pen. It's just a completely steel pen. It's, I believe the top screws off, and there's a serrated edge blade on it. There's an 11-in-1 pocket card multi-tool. It's a little bit shorter than a debit card. It's got bottle openers, got a serrated edge to cut wood, another sharp edge on it too, and a couple other tools in there to do various activities with in the event that you need to. It comes with a compass. There's a fire starting rod. There's also a pair of durable work gloves, and there's paracord too. And then for your hygiene and sanitation, there's 2 toothbrushes and a tube of toothpaste. There's soap, facial tissues, moist towelettes. Then there's also a first aid kit that comes with it too. The first aid kit says there's up to 36 pieces in there: gauze, bandages, there's thread and needle for stitches, burns, insect bites, small packets, and things of that nature. So again, this is a 2-person survival pack. I haven't unpacked it yet and done an inventory. For me, the bag is cool, but you still want to try to waterproof it and make sure everything inside is waterproofed, so nothing gets damaged. So we'll do an inventory to see what's in here. And if we like it, we may buy another one. But for now, the 2 works for us. I'll get my other bag. In addition to that bag, also have a bag about the size of this. This is a little bit the size of an oversized book bag. So if something happens, the wife can carry the small bag. I'll take that bag. That'll have our important documents, some ammunition, clothes for the kids if they need it, things like that. And those are our little versions of bug out bags. Pending any questions, we bought this at stealthangelsurvival.com. I believe this was about $140 for this pack for 2 people. The prices vary based on the size of the bag that you get, but they have a lot of things from these survival packs also to car kits and everyday carry kits and things of that nature too. So yeah, you can check out the site. I mean, to me, this is easy just a quick, easy buy of things you need that can help you in a pinch if you need it. It's not a one-stop shop, but it has quite a few things in it. All right, with that, I'll turn it back over to Bishop and Jeremy.
Okay, thanks so much. And if you would like to purchase it, please look in the chat box. You can see the information of how to get this type of survival kit. So thanks, Ray, for showing it. There it is. So there are 3 things in the chat box, 4, I think, that's in there. So you have the concealed weapons link. You have the address for the elite shooting range. You have the website for the survival backpack, and I'm not sure what the other one is. One you have to download. T, can you help me out and tell me what the 4th one is?
It looks like another link to the Stealth Angel Survival.
Oh, yeah. Okay. And what those are, they are charges for your phone. If I think that's what it is. If you get caught out somewhere and you're not where you can get to your car, these are packs that's already charged up that will be able to charge your phone as well. Okay. Any questions before I turn it back over to Jeremy? You can always put your question in the chat box. All right, we'll keep moving.
So that was all good, because you're going to see now a lot of the things that he said. The majority of those things I think all of those things I have a picture of, and we'll walk through them as we cover the rest of the list here. All right, you got my screen?
Yep, got it.
All right. So we're talking about, again, just food options. You know, I'm a fan of, beef jerky and Cliff Bars because it's light, on the move, something you can pull right out and snack on as you move. If you happen to have to move a long distance, these work out very well. You can take them out of your bag, stuff them down into a pocket. But again, by all means, whatever things that you like, if you think about this, as you're preparing in advance, it's great you got your bag. You can always, plug and play, take things out, put things in that you prefer, things that work better for you. We talked about having a map. So just a basic, road atlas that covers any area that you could potentially find yourself. And also a Garmin now with the GPS. So these are the Garmins that I have always used. Now, of course, you'll need some training on how to navigate using map and compass, and that's where places like REI are good for, and that's why I wanted to lead off with that, because there are a lot of skills that go into being able to survive for an extended period of time. Particularly if you're having to go if you're going to have to relocate somewhere. Obviously, you'll always have your, it'd be great if we can have our cars and be able to drive and go where we need to go. But worst case scenario, this Garmin is really good. Like I said, I've used this model, for more than 10 years. So I can attest to the quality of that particular product. Don't forget your batteries for any electronics that you're going to have. And it's good to just keep, it's different, AA, AAA, anything that you have batteries for, I will make sure that I have, 2 packages. One thing that we all say, 2 is 1, 1 is none. So, something like a battery, you can't ever have, I hate to say you can't ever have too much. I'll take as much of those things as I can carry. One of the things you mentioned we're going to show later on are the portable chargers. I think you can get maybe, for your cell phone, you probably get 2 charges out of those. So if you can carry multiples of those, that will also be great. We've got the hygiene kit here. Everybody has different needs. This is just an example of one that I pulled off of Amazon. But of course, you tailor it to, your, particular needs. And, add or take away as needed. We talked about the what we call here is like anyone in the military knows is the E-tool, the entrenching tool, but basically a shovel serves multi-purposes. But as you need to dig around your tent, things that so this has a lot of utility, particularly as as you add to your survival training, as you add to the you add tools in your toolbox, you'll begin to find more and more uses for a tool like this. We talked about having a sleeping bag. This is, a lot of your sleeping bag should be something that's lightweight, something that you can just roll up, and it shouldn't occupy very much space in your backpack. Next to the sleeping bag, I have a sleeping pad. Now this is optional. This is, more of a comfort item, but I personally carried this anytime I deployed or I went out to the field or I was going to be out, hiking or camping for an extended period of time, because I personally didn't like sleeping on the ground, so this is, again, just a comfort item. So if you're able to take it, in many cases, so this one is able to just roll up and should be able to fit down in your bag, but it's also one of those that you can kind of clip onto the side of your bag, or you can carry it on the top of your bag. There's so many different options, but if you're going to start adding comfort items, then this is one that I would recommend. I never go outside without the, mosquito insect repellent. I just draw a lot of mosquitoes. So, for me, it's miserable being outside without having that. So make sure if that's you, then, you carry one or two of these. Like I said, these are 40% DEET. I try not to go higher, but, again, very effective at repelling the mosquitoes if you're out in the woods. We talked about clothing, so I decided to throw some examples in here. When I'm out, I like to carry a lightweight shirt, preferably something that's long sleeve. You're going to be, if you're in a, and I'm really thinking if you're in a survival situation and you're going to be out in the woods or you're going to be moving through some type of rugged terrain, then for one, having something that's breathable. I don't recommend, cotton shirts because they don't dry as quickly. Anything I try to carry things that, will be able to dry as I move, particularly, I found myself in many cases being out in the elements, so moving through the rain in a rainstorm, you can't stop, you still have to move, so your things are getting wet, but, items like these, so you'll find at any hiking store. So these brands here, the shirt and the pants are made by Columbia, but, lightweight. We talked about, obviously you'll, in an emergency situation, you'll probably just pick your bag up and go, but having something like this stuff down in that you can change out as soon as possible will do a lot for your comfort. Also think about the socks that you're going to pack. I personally like this brand of socks. I carry these in my bag. I wear these all the time, particularly when I'm wearing boots, just a very comfortable pair of socks. But, like I said, get what works for you and your budget. The big thing is just, again, these are things that if you can pay a little bit more money for comfort, it's going to take you a long way if you find yourself in this situation. You want to make sure you have some type of eye protection. I just put, a generic brand here, but you can think of anything, even goggles we mentioned last week. So I just wanted to give you an example of the type of something that will wrap around and thoroughly protect your vision, particularly if you're going to be moving through, so like a rugged terrain and at night. I've experienced guys who've gotten sticks in the eye, had eye damage because, they were moving, they were hot, they were sweating, took their glasses off, stumbled and fell. So I highly recommend having some type of eye protection, and they even make these with inserts for folks who wear glasses, and they need they even make them prescription. So again, as you're making your plan, think about things like your eyeglasses and having multiple sets. We were talking about clothing last week. We also talked about the layer system, and and I'm an advocate of the layer system, being able to tailor your the layer up or down as the temperature changes. So I would start with some type of clothing like on the previous slide. But as it gets cold, I will move to something like this pullover, what we call a, like a waffle top type material. And I will first go to that. And then if I'm still cold, as I'm moving, I'll move up to something like this Columbia jacket I have here on the screen, something like that. It's both wind and water resistant, so you can use it for the cold. You can also double it as a rain jacket. And again, depending on the time of the year, if you're, sometimes it snows here. If you happen to be with the snow, this is a snow jacket, but it's made of this material we were talking about last week. Gore-Tex is lightweight, quick drying, but it also is windproof, and it does a great job at protecting you from the elements and keeping you warm while you're moving. We talked a lot about having the right type of footwear. Don't recommend tennis shoes. I recommend something like this. And I pulled these, both women and men's, hiking, these here are about $40, but you can find them at different prices from different stores. You find what works for you and works what's in your budget and is comfortable. The big thing that you want to look at here is making sure that you have something that's going to protect your ankles, making sure that you have something that's rugged enough that's not going to be torn or that's not going to be damaged after extended use. We talked about the type of gloves, any type of rugged leather gloves. I think the bag that you recommended comes with a pair of work gloves, if I heard correctly. But making sure that you have gloves. This is an example of the type of hat that, so some type of hat with a brim, a wide brim hat, particularly for me. If you're going to be out in the heat, want something that, a cap like a baseball cap is good, but it doesn't fully protect you from the sun. So I found something like this to be much more effective, like this hat, like this cap here. Same thing with the cold. I think last week we were talking about having a beanie hat. This is just an example. Again, find what works for you. I know the package, the bag that Ray was just talking about said hand warmers. This is a great brand. Hot Hands. You can get hot hands for, again, not just, it's Hot Hands brand, but, for your hands, you can get warmers for that go down into your boots. Use these a lot in the winter and they work very well. So I recommend that you get a bag of those and throw that in your bug out bag also. This is what the paracord looks like. Like he said, like we were saying, paracord has a number of uses. I think the example I gave last week, even just being able to string it across trees and use it as a clothing line, being able to use it as a makeshift, for makeshift shelter. You can drape your, I think he said that bag came with like a wet weather poncho. Again, with training, you'll learn, like if you really need to on the fly, you can string up paracord, you can drape in the case of your bag, Bishop, you can drape your ponchos over it. They should be like maybe able to snap together. And then you have like a little makeshift tent that you can use on the fly just to protect you from the elements. So again, many uses of the paracord. He mentioned the fire stick. You'll need some training for this, but you can find there are multiple videos on YouTube that show you how to use one of these fire sticks. And certainly if you go through some type of survival training through like an REI, they'll make sure you know how to make fire. One of the most important survival tasks that you're going to need to do. So I recommend making sure that you practice with this and spending time learning how to make fire using whatever fire stick they have. But this is also one where I would recommend, short of the training, that you may want to add to your bag. You may want to put together your own fire starter kit, maybe something that includes some matches, things that you can just put in the bag and carry around, because folks can find a tool like this difficult to use.
Now, as you go on to the next slide, for those who may be just coming on, And you might be wondering why we're having this conversation. Um, I always use the term never say never, because you just don't know. We never thought we would be in quarantine and be dealing with a global pandemic such as COVID-19, but here we are. We're in the middle of it. We don't know when it's going to end. So never say never, because it never is a long time. And just for the sake of knowing how to do something is a peace of mind. So we're doing this tonight because we're just trying to equip you, trying to give you something to think about, because you never know when you're going to get in a situation where this may actually be a lifesaver for you. Okay.
Yeah, so on this slide, this is all your first aid stuff. So your bag comes, the bag that you order comes with a first aid kit. I'm sure you're going to take that out and begin to inventory it. But two additional things that I recommend adding on to that is one, a first aid card like this. It's one that fits easily into your bag, and it gives you ready-made instructions for how to tackle, some of the most common, first aid tasks that you'll run into out in the field. And I think, when you think about, sprains, when you think about, things like snake bites, when you think about, tripping and falling and maybe, breaking a bone or things like that, those things will be covered. Things as simple as how to handle, we've been moving for a long time, and, how to see the signs and symptoms of a hot weather or a cold weather injury. And, what do you do if you find yourself into that situation? I highly recommend having some type of first aid instructions, because I know that this isn't something that a lot of folks have training with or are able to keep in the back of their mind. And then, you have the added stress of being able to do it in an emergency. Things like how to perform CPR. On the far right, I recommend, these are very cheap, but getting a few tourniquets. Ideally, I would hope that I don't think most first aid kits come with a tourniquet, but being able to get one of these tactical like tourniquets, knowing under what situation to use it, knowing how to apply it. And like I said, if you're able to find your way to survival training, this will undoubtedly come up, how to apply a tourniquet, when to use a tourniquet, and then what to do after you've applied the tourniquet. Having a good field knife is important. So this is just an example of one Kershaw. Like I said, a great brand of knives, but you can find any knife that that you have around, or there's something that you're already comfortable with using. One of the things in your bag is a multi-tool. So this is what a multi-tool looks like in the middle there. You'll get a lot of good utility out of that, and it's got pretty much everything that you're going to need to work out in the field. And then I think your bag comes with a flashlight, but I also recommend, if you want to, add a headlamp, something that you can, like I said, you wear it around your head as you're moving. You can just click it on, and you can move. Like I said, as it gets dark, you can keep it on, but then your hands are free. So, that's the good thing about having a headlamp like this.
This headlamp, as you go to the next page, it's important just to have it in your house, because we had a pretty bad storm yesterday. I like to go out. Maybe it could be 8 or 9 o'clock at night, and you need to get up, and all you have to do, one of the most things that we can't find when electricity go off is a flashlight. But that little headset that you can put around your head is easy to put around. You would be amazed at the light that it gives you. So I have several of them. So if you don't think they work, I dare you to try them.
Yeah, so I personally don't use sunscreen, but I know a lot of folks need to use sunscreen, so I put it on here. If you find that you need it, then it's certainly not something that you want to be without. If you're stuck out in an emergency situation in the elements. Here I have a sewing kit. This is what it looks like. We talked about it last week, but I just wanted to show a picture. Really small, fits right into your bag. Here we have a lymphatic compass. Of course, you'll need some training on how to use that. Probably won't be, unless you've already trained or you're inclined to get training on how to use it, you probably won't. It's probably better to just get the GPS and easier to learn how to use that. But there are also options of getting maybe just like a mini compass just to be able to know, what general direction that you're going. Bottom line here is that, these are very useful if once you get the training, I think you have one of these in your bag already, but this is what that looks like for folks who hadn't heard of it before. I recommend getting a walking stick. This is just an example. It doesn't have to be this tight, but walking sticks have, a lot of uses as you're in a survival situation. We've mentioned the portable charger. I carry a lot of these, said if I'm going to be, I think I have maybe 3 or 4 of them. You'll get, I think you get about 2 full charges out of one. So if you charge them ahead of time, throw them in your backpack, you should be able to get power to your cell phone for at least a week. And then with that, just don't forget your phone. Having a phone, or maybe having a prepaid phone or something that you can use just in case you're not able to get to your phone, maybe something to plan for. Probably unlikely because most of us don't go places anywhere without our phones now. So that's probably the one thing that you will have, but I put it on here just in case because I've seen people go out and forget their phone and we'll have to go back and get it. All right, so that's it. I think the one thing I'll add is I can't stress enough, you have these things in your bag. Just make sure you take the time to learn how it's just dead weight if you don't know how to use it, or know what you're doing once you get out there. So, you're taking the step to get the kit, now you've got while you have the time, just over time, learn how to use those things, out in the environment where you may potentially have to use it, Bishop.
Okay. Thank you so much for the slides. Now, if anyone has any questions you want to ask Jeremy tonight, this is your opportunity to ask them. You can either write in the chat box or you can actually come off on your mic and ask a question. We want to hear it. I know we're in a pandemic and you can't take actually self-defense classes right now because of COVID, but you can still YouTube videos, self-defense videos where you can just actually look at and get an idea of some things that you can do, especially if you are a single mother or a single young lady out here and you travel by yourself a lot. You need some form of protection. Never assume that everywhere you go, everybody's going to be nice. You just don't know. We live in some strange times now, and there's a lot of things that's going on. So our reason of having this tonight is to try and to prepare you for the unknown or the unexpected. I know some of you probably thinking, I don't need to hear this. This is a waste of my time. I pray it is. I pray that you never have to use it. But what if you do? Then you might be in some trouble. It could be a matter of life and death. So this platform here tonight was to help you, to equip you, to give you some things to think about, and it's up to you what you want to do with it. But I just wanted to make sure that we had the opportunity to see some things, to hear some things. And I always go back to the scripture. The Bible says, my people perish because of lack of knowledge. And so the more knowledge we have and the more understanding we have in certain situations, again, it could be a matter of saving our life or saving a family member's life. So if you have a fear of using a weapon, again, there are places where you can go, they can teach you. A lot of times when you have fear of something, it's because you don't know what to expect. But once you try it, once you learn it, then it's no longer a fear to you. So I hope what we have shared last week and what we have shared tonight will be a help to you, at least to give you an opportunity to think about getting some of these items just in case if something happens, you got to move real quick and you can't stay in your house, or if you're trapped in your house for several days and there is no electricity or anything, you just need to make sure you got certain stuff where you can survive a few days until help can get to you. So again, thank you for those of you who have tuned in. And if you don't have any other questions, I'm going to give Jeremy an opportunity to, if you have any closing remarks, to share with us, and then we'll roll out.
Oh, well, thanks again, Bishop, for having me. Thanks everyone for listening. I hope you found this helpful. Again, just to reiterate, I think the key thing is it's good that everybody's making a plan, but rehearsals, getting out there practicing. And I think you guys have all the right folks in place to be able to do this successfully, Bishop. So thanks again.
Thanks. And I would ask those of you who are watching by Zoom or Facebook, if you got the opportunity to throw up some hearts or to tell Jeremy thank you in the chat box, he would appreciate that. And while you're doing that, he'll get a chance to see it. While you're doing that, if there's a certain subject that you would like for us to discuss on Let's Talk About It, please email us. We'll put the email information in the chat box, so you can email us and we'll do our best to make sure we can get this subject talked about, whatever it is that you desire to hear us talk about. info@nlcbc.org. So please send us a message if you want to talk about something that is dear and passionate to your heart. So again, thank all of you for tuning in tonight. Thank you, Jeremy. And we will look forward to next week. If you follow us on Facebook, if you follow me on Facebook or follow New Life on Facebook each week, probably around Tuesday or early Wednesday, we will be putting out our flyer, letting you know who will be our guest speaker. And so we already have one for next week. So we'll be putting a flyer out probably around Tuesday or Wednesday. So keep a watch for that. And again, thank you so much for tuning in with us on Let's Talk About It. Jeremy, you have a blessed evening, and thanks again. Thanks. Tell your family we said thanks for allowing you to take some time away to help us, and thanks again for what you do for our country.
Hey, thank you, Bishop, and have a good night, all right?
All right. God bless everyone, and have a good night, and we will see you next week.